Welcome back to the channel. I'm Joe. Got the GX back in the garage. It is almost spring here in Iowa. I feel like I've been saying that for way too long, but almost spring means almost camping season, which means almost camper season, which means it's almost towing season. So it is time for me to install a bigger transmission cooler in this GX470. So stay tuned. We've been towing our little camper for a couple years with the GX now, and it tows fine. Obviously with the 33s, it's not quite as good as it would have been with the 31s, but the transmission temps are a little bit higher than I would like to see. So we are going to, well, I've already installed, but I'm going to show you how I did it. A bigger transmission cooler. So let's take a look. Let's kind of go backwards, I guess. I have it all installed. I'll show you all installed, and then I need to take it all apart because I'm actually installing a fan on here too. I figure I have that big switch pod now, so I may as well put a fan on it. They're cheap, and it's gonna get hot this summer here in Iowa. So we've got another little fan, so it'll kind of be a match to this, and that of course will be the next video. But this cooler is about twice the size as the factory one, basically mounted in the same position. And of course there is a ton of different ways to do this. There is a few companies that make actual brackets. Not brackets actually for the 470, but for the FJ Cruiser, for the 4th gen 4Runner, and as far as I can tell, they're complete, like exactly the same. You may have to move the horns because I'm pretty sure on the 470s the horns are in a different place than the other platforms, because I think this is the only one that has this air conditioning fan, but don't quote me on that. That's just kind of from my mild research that I've done. So I guess let's tear it apart and then put it back together, and I'll talk about it piece by piece. All right, so I've got it torn, well, mostly torn apart. I don't really want to tear it all out and have transmission fluid everywhere. But anyways, this is the Hayden 678. I don't know that I mentioned that earlier, Amazon. This is the original one. So it's about double the size, like I said. This one's a little bit thicker, I guess, but quite a bit bigger. It was mounted down here-ish, mostly. So we get that out. First, I guess, the horns. We can talk about the horns. They mount roughly in the same position, different holes, but they hang down. This one I moved over, because one of them was originally mounted here. I just moved it over and then obviously clocked it up, and I put in a, come on focus, a little nylon spacer so that I could clear that and stick it out far enough. I also went ahead and I drilled a couple tiny holes on the outside of this shroud, so that if water does get in there, it'll kind of settle down here in the lowest point and then drain back out. Same thing for this one. And then this one, I just undid this bolt that is, what is that, AC condenser mount, and shoved it in there. I think I bent the bracket just ever so slightly, but hood closes, everything clears around there, no problems. And I've been driving like this for a few weeks. It's been fine, so we're good to go there. This sensor, this ambient air sensor, that stayed in the same spot. Oh, as far as the wiring, this one has 2 wires going to it. This one has 1 wire going to it because it kind of just jumps off one of the wires from here. So literally all I had to do was extend the wire to this one by, like, I don't know, I did like 6 inches or whatever, so I had plenty to go with. Other than that, no problems, good to go. Bracket-wise, down here, if you look back, let's see if we can get a good shot back in here. There is a bracket, this bracket right here, 2 10mm bolts. That was part of the original mounting bracket for the original trans cooler, and because actually when this bolts onto the header panel here, it holds these hard lines in place, these trans hard lines. So I just cut off the bracket, the mounting part, so that I could keep the bolt-on part and keep these lines secure. Down at the bottom, there was another part of a bracket. This bracket, and this is a mount for the AC condenser. So originally it was kind of like this, but it was in the way, and then there was yet another bracket that came off of here. I cut off this section and re-drilled the holes so that I could move it over and get out of the way. So now I have room to put my bracket in. This bad boy, this is just like a 1.5 inch by, I don't know, thin 1/8 inch steel bar that I got at the hardware store. Cut it down. I'm gonna set it in place here and show you guys exactly what and why it's cut like this. While it's out, I will show you there's 2 bolts in it. Those are the bolts where the trans cooler is going to mount to. I lost one of my bushings. I tack welded those bolts to the back of this bracket just so I don't have to get a wrench back there. Obviously you don't have to do that, but it will make life easier if you have access to a welder. All right, the bracket is in. Bolts to the top up here. That stud was already there. Just to put a nut on it. I did have to come in and kind of cut part of this bracket around to go there, and I had to do similar down there at the bottom. I had to drill one hole for this bolt, but I actually I had an extension, drill bit extension, so I just went in through here, drilled slightly at an angle, but then I kind of finagled it and it worked out really well. The bolt comes in from the back. I just used 1/4-20 hardware and all this. I've got tons of it. So bolt comes in from the back, bracket goes on the front, bolt that together. I used, I really like these flange nuts. They've got like little grooves on the back. It's kind of a locking type nut-ish kind of thing. They're not as prone to backing off, plus you've already got the washer built in, so I really like those. This is the only, I think this is the only bolt where you have to put a wrench in to tighten it down. Everything else can get pre-assembled like these I'm going to talk about shortly, or I have the bolts welded, or I used nutserts. So there is the cooler. The original soft lines I believe would have worked. I had the line, so I put new lines on. Why not? Then I've got these 2 brackets here. Let me flip this over, start installing it, and then we'll talk about those brackets. All right, cooler is in. You can see I've got it bolted on there. Those little rubber bushings that I used over there, I've got one here. There is one down on that other bracket. All those were the original mounting bushings for the original brackets, for the original cooler. These 2 I cut in half. This one is the full one, and that one down there is cut in half. Just a little bit of shock absorption, probably not necessary, but I figured, you know, why not? This bottom bracket, let's see, that is a piece of like stock bracketry that you get at the hardware store. Like it's just a piece of stamped however long, I think it's like 2 inches. It's already got the holes drilled in it. I had some of those laying around. That I bolted to there, obviously, and then there is already a threaded hole there from the factory. Put that together. Same deal with this one. Put that together. Both of these I pre-assembled, as you saw earlier, folded in place. This one I put a nutsert. I drilled a hole, put a nutsert, and then this bracket I did get some flat stock and made my own to length. But So I need to put a screw in there, put the bolt back in there. Another thing that I just did that I'm pretty excited about how it turned out is this bracket down here. Now, there is, this one right here is a AC line, which I had already kind of bent up out of the way and relocated because of my winch mount. And so there was a bracket over here that kind of held it into place. It was like a plastic clip, snapped it into place. And then, see, this line runs over and then up to here, and there's no other support for it. Probably would be fine. I don't know. But what I did was I had another one of those stock stamped bracket things. I put it in the vise. I put my adjustable wrench on the other end, and I gave it a 90-degree turn. And then I had, let's see if there's on the line itself, oh, I have another one over here. Let me just, this, it's like a cable retainer, basically. And it is just the perfect size. It's tight because of that foam, but this is really just flimsy foam. I test fit it over the actual line to make sure I wasn't gonna pinch anything. So I put that over there, bolted that there. There was already a hole in this upright bracket, so I put a 1/4-20 nut zert in there. It did not really fit super tight, but once I started torquing that bolt down, it kind of cinched itself into place, and it's pretty stout. I did go ahead and I zip tied the AC line to this power steering line. Just, you know, a little added support there in the corner. I don't really know how much moving or vibrating those lines are going to do, but they are definitely not going anywhere right now. And there it is, installed. All my screws buttoned up, tightened up. You can see I've started mounting points for that fan that I'm going to be putting on. I don't know what the difference in towing temps is yet. It hasn't been hot enough for it to matter, and I haven't towed yet. I do know that I used this trans cooler in my 4th gen 4Runner when I was towing. That was a V6, not the V8, but perfect transmission temps when towing. So, all right, that wraps up the video. Like I said earlier, there's a ton of different ways that you could custom mount that. There, I saw guys do it with just reusing, cutting up the brackets that held on the original cooler, so they had no money invested there. There is, like I said, there's a couple companies that make FJ Cruiser and 4th gen coolers, cooler mounts. I think there is one guy that makes a mount specifically for the 470 somewhere on Facebook, but I don't know. I figured, well, I spent $100 when I could buy some steel stock and do it myself and make a video, and then I have it exactly where I want it. I can mount the fan on there exactly how I want it. So yeah, comments, questions down below. Of course, as always, follow the links over my Instagram and my Facebook. The next video about this will be the fan install. That should be pretty straightforward. Looking forward to having that on there. It's going to be really awesome with the switch panel and everything to be able to run that. So until the next video drops, thank you for watching. Take care. Goodbye.